is New England. 6 states famed in our country's history. Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Cross the bridge at Portsmouth, and you're in Maine. No single trip can do justice to the coast of Maine. Its beauty and variety recall vacationists year after year. If you like a picturesque lighthouse, a bit of sea-swept shore, or one of the popular coast resorts such as York or Wells, whatever your inclination, you'll find it here. A motor trip along this beautiful coast takes you past quaint little fishing villages that dot the shores of rocky coves. The highway curves around snug harbors, and nearby a strange experience awaits you. The Desert of Maine. Who'd expect to find a desert in this part of the world? But here it is, in the midst of a fertile farm area. This strange natural phenomenon has taken place. In a little less than 60 years, sand has boiled up from below to cover the tops of high trees and encroach on the buildings of a once prosperous farm. Year by year, the sand has pushed up until today it spreads over almost 500 acres. In many places, colored sands appear, multi-hued pigments that spread over wide areas, ready to come to life at the scrape of a stick or even the scuff of a shoe.
Nubble lighthouse. Cape Nedick Light, aka Nubble Light, 2 miles north of York Harbor. It's been urged by local mariners since 1807. It's first illuminated on July 1st, 1879. Yeah, during Christmas time they light it up like this. Being open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Growing up in Maine, I've been here at probably all hours of the night. So it's like a campus here up at Freeport at the LL Bean flagship. They do like concerts, summer events, summer camps, outdoor classes, gun shooting classes, kayak trips, I mean everything. This is the hunting and fishing part of the store. Then you have the main part, you have the ski and the kayak part over there, and that's LL Bean Home. LL Bean Home. Here's the front. It's called the Final Charge Locked Moose. So they are saving and rebuilding the Tuttle barn, which was here in the Tuttle farmhouse. Pretty cool. So you used to be able to, they had like these tractors that you drive around in the dunes, and now it's a self-guided tour. They did this whole rebranding. So let's check it out. So in 1821, John and Abigail Tuttle bought 50 acres of farmland that encompasses today's Desert of Maine. Unbeknownst to the Tuttles, hidden beneath the topsoil was a truly massive deposit of glacial silt. And that's why it looks like a desert. There's a little map they gave us. So now that it's a self-guided tour, you can walk basically a mile around a desert in Maine. timeline of the desert's glacial history. So after the Tuttle farm was abandoned in the 1890s and before it became this attraction, the Desert of Maine, it was known as the Sand Farm by locals. And actually, I will cut to an interview with my dad. He has a little story about this place when he was working in advertising. They filmed here for, I think it was LL Bean. Henry Goldrup. He bought the land in 1925 for $400. And he had a hunch that other people would appreciate the land. So he started selling hot dogs, popcorn, homemade ice cream to his visitors on his little desert here. And then the popularity of the desert soared in the 70s. Oh, and Henry was buddies with LL Bean right down the way. All right, so these are the original signs. When I came here, God, it was like 5 years ago, and we got on this like metal tractor and they drove us around here. But this is it. This is the Desert of Maine. The Palakowicz family took over in the spring of 1936. They remember walking out here into the sandy expanse in frozen wonder. They became the operators of the attraction and realized more of its commercial value. I guess in the 30s, the Hermit of Maine was an attraction up the road here. Charlie Coffin, who was a painter, musician, and inventor, turned his cabin into a side attraction about a half mile up the road leading to the Desert of Maine. This was the sign. It's pretty cool. Let's continue on our self-guided tour. In 1938, Ripley's Believe It or Not published a blurb about the Desert of Maine. And that put the Desert of Maine on the map nationally and drew a growing stream of visitors until the early 1940s, when over 50,000 people each year were coming to see this. Oh, so here's the original trolley tours. So that's what I was on like 5 years ago. It was like a rickety old thing towed by a tractor. It was kind of awesome. But I appreciate the self-guided tour as well. Ripples in the sand. Pretty cool. The different patterns that are made from the wind here. This is really nice sand. In 1935, Henry discovered a small natural spring immediately below where you are standing. And that produced clear, pure, ice-cold water. And they built a spring house. And then the winds just blew the sand right over it, covering it. Let's go check this out. Spring waters, a miracle cure. The spring house at the Desert of Maine was part of a fashionable wellness craze that had its roots in the 19th century, when distinguished medical men of the day believed that spring water could cure everything, including hay fever and tuberculosis. I knew they'd mention Poland Spring. There you go. Down here at the spring house. Oh, wow. Look at this, the original spring and the original structure. According to Henry Goldrup, he made the first sand bottle one Monday afternoon in the 30s while cleaning up after a busy picnic. So he put beautifully colored sands in it and sifted them around to make these. I remember making these in the 90s as a kid. Look at that, the original Desert of Maine sign. So near the Hermit of Maine cabin up the road, they had a lookout tower built in 1948, Allen's Lookout. Here's the original tower. You could see the White Mountains that lie 50 miles to the west. Ooh, myths of the Desert of Maine. In a book called Haunted Maine, the appearance of the sand here was brought about by a treacherous family deception. Thomas Grayson bought the land, farmed successfully, and when his wife passed away, he remarried. She became ill. Blah, blah, blah. Ghostly figure of Thomas Grayson can supposedly be seen walking in the blowing, swirling sand. Okay. Hi, Roland Henry. A roadside attraction. The Maine coast has been a travel destination since the mid-1800s. By the 1920s, when Desert of Maine became a tourist attraction, families were venturing out for road trips. Pretty cool. How to market a desert. Hand-painted signs on Route 1. Desert of Maine under the bumpers in the parking lot. Awesome. Look at this. I spoke with my dad. I interviewed him. He's a little difficult to understand. He has ALS, so his voice is pretty weak. But he had a really long career in advertising and marketing, and he worked for a, Portland, Maine advertising agency in the 80s and the 90s. And one of their early clients, LL Bean, they were doing a photo shoot, actually, or a video shoot at the Desert of Maine, and they used black and white footage so that the sand looked like snow, so that it was wintertime, even though it was not winter.